I still remember that rainy Tuesday morning when my world fell apart. After 8 years of marriage, I came home from my night shift at the local diner to find the locks changed and my belongings in garbage bags on the front porch. My hands trembled as I called my husband, David, only to hear his cold voice. "It's over, Sarah. I've moved on. Don't try to come back." I stood there, rain soaking through my waitress uniform, staring at the house we bought together. Well, the house I bought, technically. My inheritance from my beloved grandfather had paid for the down payment, but David's name was on all the paperwork. I trusted him completely when he said it was easier that way, with his credit score. What a fool I'd been. My phone buzzed again, a text notification from our joint bank account. Balance, $0. 8 years of savings gone. My separate account? Also emptied. He'd had access to everything because I trusted him, because I believed in our marriage. I didn't know then that this was just the beginning. With nowhere else to go, I loaded what I could into my old Honda Civic, the only thing still in my name, and drove to my mother-in-law Patricia's house. Maybe there had been some mistake. Maybe she could help me understand what was happening. I should have known better. Patricia opened her door, wearing her signature pearl necklace and disapproving frown. Behind her, I could see David's sister Amanda smirking. "Well," Patricia said, looking down her nose at my wet, bedraggled appearance, "I suppose you're here to beg for money now that David's finally seen sense." "Patricia, please." My voice cracked. "I don't understand what's happening. Everything's gone. The house, our savings." "Oh, honey," she laughed, but there was no warmth in it. "Did you really think someone like David would stay with a waitress forever? He's finally moving up in the world, and he needs someone more suitable." She adjusted her designer watch. "Though I must say, you lasted longer than I expected. Most gold diggers would have shown their true colors years ago." "Gold digger?" I whispered, stunned. "I paid for a house. I supported him through his MBA. "With your grandfather's money," Amanda chimed in, "which you've been lording over David for years. Well, now he's paid you back. Guess you'll have to find another rich old man to mooch off of." I stood there, rain mixing with my tears as 8 years of memories rewound themselves in my mind. All those family dinners where they'd subtly mocked my job. The way they dismissed my contribution to David's success. How they'd never accepted me, the poor girl from the wrong side of town who dared to marry into their precious family. "Where is he?" I asked, my voice stronger now. "Where's David?" "On his honeymoon," Patricia said with a cruel smile. "With Jessica. You remember her, his new executive assistant. They've been seeing each other for months. She comes from a good family, you know. She'll be much better at supporting David's career than you ever were." The world spun around me. Jessica. The woman he'd hired 6 months ago, who he'd insisted on working late with so often, who smiled sweetly at me at the company Christmas party while apparently sleeping with my husband. "You knew," I realized, looking between Patricia and Amanda. "You all knew he was cheating." "Of course we knew," Amanda rolled her eyes. "We helped him plan everything. Jessica's father is on the board of David's company. This marriage will do wonders for his career. Unlike you, who's been holding him back with your embarrassing little waitress job." "Now," Patricia said, reaching for her door, "I suggest you leave before. I'll call the police. And don't bother trying to fight this in court. Our family lawyer has everything handled. You signed a prenup, remember? You'll get nothing." The door slammed in my face, leaving me alone in the rain once again. That night, I slept in my car in a Walmart parking lot, too shocked and broken to even cry. The next day, I tried to check into a cheap motel, only to find my credit cards had been canceled. My phone was next. Apparently, it had been on David's plan. Within 48 hours, I had nothing but my car, the clothes on my back, some garbage bags, and $237 in cash. I managed to find a bed at the local women's shelter. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd volunteered here for years, never imagining I'd end up staying here myself. The shelter director, Grace, remembered me from my volunteer days and gave me a private room, usually reserved for emergency cases. "You're in shock, Sarah," she said gently, bringing me a cup of tea. But you're stronger than you know. And when you're ready, we'll help you fight back. I didn't believe her then. How could I fight back? David had taken everything. He'd planned it all perfectly. He had his family's money, their lawyers, their connections. I was just a waitress with a worthless degree in social work, trying to make ends meet while supporting my husband's dreams. But Grace was right about one thing. I was in shock. So much so that I almost missed the most important detail of all, a detail that would change everything. It happened 3 days into my stay at the shelter. I was helping in the shelter's kitchen. I couldn't afford to pay for my stay, but I could at least cook, when I heard excited whispers from the front office. The CEO of Montgomery Industries is here. What's Alexander Montgomery doing at our shelter? I heard he's doing a series of surprise visits to local charities. I froze, nearly dropping the pot I was holding. Montgomery Industries. David's company. The place he'd worked his way up to middle management, always complaining that he deserved more recognition, faster promotions. I'd never met anyone from his work. He'd always said I wouldn't fit in at corporate events. But I knew about Alexander Montgomery. Everyone in town did. The brilliant young CEO who'd taken over his father's company 5 years ago and transformed it into a tech giant. The businessman who put our small city on the map. The man who, if the gossip was true, had no patience for dishonesty or corruption in his company. Before I could decide whether to hide in the kitchen, Grace came rushing in. Sarah, Mr. Montgomery is asking to speak with all our residents. He's making a large donation and wants to hear their stories firsthand. Would you be comfortable joining the group? I looked down at my shelter-provided clothes, touched my unwashed hair. I don't know, Grace. I'm not really presentable. Nonsense, she said firmly. You're one of us now, and your story deserves to be heard. And that's how I found myself sitting in a circle with 15 other shelter residents, facing Alexander Montgomery himself. He wasn't what I expected, younger than I'd imagined, maybe in his mid-30s, wearing a simple, button-down shirt and slacks. No fancy suit. No arrogant attitude. He listened intently to each woman's story, asking thoughtful questions, taking notes. Then it was my turn. I'm Sarah, I said quietly. I'm here because my husband emptied our accounts and changed the locks while I was at work. He works for your company, actually. Alexander Montgomery's head snapped up, his pen freezing mid-note. What did you say? I couldn't stop now. The whole story poured out. The 8 years of marriage. Supporting David through his MBA. Buying our house with my inheritance. Discovering his affair with his executive assistant. His family's cruel dismissal. He's David Chun. I finished, my voice barely a whisper. In middle management, he just married Jessica Williams. Her father is on your board. The room was dead silent. Alexander Montgomery's face had gone completely still, his eyes intense. David Chun, he repeated slowly. The one who's been pushing for a senior director position. Who's been claiming his wife is fully supportive of his career moves. I laughed bitterly. Supportive? I didn't even know he was divorcing me until I found my belongings in garbage bags. Grace, Alexander said suddenly, standing up. May I use your office for a moment? Mrs. Chun and I need to have a private conversation. It's Miller now, I corrected quietly. I'm going back to my maiden name. He nodded, a strange expression crossing his face. Miss Miller, then. Please come with me. As I followed him to Grace's office, I had no idea that this conversation would change everything. That within 24 hours, David's perfectly planned new life would begin to crumble. And it would all start with 5 simple words from Alexander Montgomery. I've been looking for you. I followed Alexander Montgomery into Grace's small office, my heart pounding. He closed the door and turned to face me, his expression intense. 5 years ago, he said, did you write a business proposal for a corporate-sponsored chain of community resource centers? My mouth fell open. How did you? It crossed my desk when I first became CEO, he continued. Brilliant concept, combining job training, childcare, and social services in economically disadvantaged areas. The financial projections were sound. The community impact analysis? Thorough. But when I tried to contact the author, Sarah Miller, she'd vanished. The email bounced back. The phone number was disconnected. I sank into a chair, memories flooding back. That was right after I married David, I said. He told me the proposal was too amateur, that it would embarrass the company if anyone saw it. He made me take it down from all the submission portals. Said I should focus on supporting his career instead. Alexander's jaw tightened. Do you know what happened to that proposal, Miss Miller? I shook my head slowly. Nothing, because your husband buried it. He continued, voice cold with restrained anger. He accessed the company's submission system using his credentials and withdrew it, without your knowledge. We found the digital trail during a system audit last year, but we couldn't locate you. He what? My voice shook. But why? Because David Chen has been taking credit for other people's work for years. We suspected, but we couldn't prove it. He's very careful, very manipulative. Alexander sat on the edge of Grace's desk, watching me closely. The proposal's withdrawal caught our attention because it was exceptional. I've been looking for its author ever since. Tears filled my eyes. All those nights I'd worked on that proposal, dreaming of making a difference. All while David was apparently sabotaging me. There's more, Alexander said gently. 2 months ago, David presented a modified version of your proposal to the board. Claimed it was his original work, part of his bid for the senior director position. Jessica's father has been championing him for the role. A bitter laugh escaped me. So that's why he chose now to leave. He finally found a way to use my work for his own advancement. Miss Miller, Sarah, Alexander leaned forward. I'd like to offer you a job as director of our new community impact division. Your original proposal will be the foundation, but you'll have full resources to expand it. Starting salary is $250,000, plus benefits and stock options. I stared at him, certain I'd misheard. But I'm just a waitress. No, he said firmly. You're a brilliant strategist who's been systematically undermined by an abusive husband. That ends today.
He pulled out his phone.
With your permission, I'd like to call our legal team. David Chen committed corporate fraud by stealing and misrepresenting your work. That's grounds for immediate termination. My head spun. But his new wife, her father, board member or not, fraud is fraud. And something tells me Mr. Williams won't be so supportive once he learns the truth about his new son-in-law. Everything moved quickly after that. Alexander's legal team arrived within the hour. They took my statement, gathered evidence. By morning, the truth about David's fraud was exposed. He was fired publicly. His corporate accounts? Frozen. Jessica's father? Horrified by the scandal, and immediately annulled their marriage. I wasn't there when it happened, but Amanda later told me, in a desperate attempt to reconcile, once she realized I was now a company director, David and Jessica returned early from their honeymoon. They found their key cards deactivated. Security waiting. How dare you? David had apparently shouted at Alexander in the lobby. Do you know who my new father-in-law is? Was. Alexander corrected calmly. The marriage has been annulled. And Mr. Williams sends his regards, along with a recommendation that you find employment far, far away from our industry. That's when David saw me, standing beside Alexander, in a designer suit, a gift from the company's stylist. His face went white. Sarah, what are you doing here? Taking back what's mine, I said calmly. The proposal you stole? It's being implemented. The career you tried to destroy? It's flourishing. The woman you discarded? She's your new boss's right hand. Patricia and Amanda tried damage control, of course. Suddenly, they were calling constantly, leaving tearful voicemails about family loyalty. But I had a new family now. The incredible team at Montgomery Industries, who welcomed my ideas and valued my contributions. The women's shelter where I'd stayed? It became the pilot location for our first community resource center. Grace joined as program director. Within a year, we'd opened 10 more centers across the state. David? Last I heard, he was working as a junior analyst in a small firm 3 states away. Jessica married a wealthy developer. And Patricia? She now complains that her new daughter-in-law married down. As for me, well, that's another story. One that started with late nights working on center proposals with Alexander. Strategy sessions that turned into dinner discussions. Meetings that lingered long after the agenda was complete. I'm not him, Alexander said one evening as we watched the sunset from his office. I'll never try to dim your light. I know, I replied. Because I did know. I'd learned the difference between someone who wants to possess you and someone who wants to see you soar. 2 years after that rainy day, when my world fell apart, I stood in a grand ballroom at the Montgomery Industries headquarters. Hundreds of employees and community members gathered to celebrate the opening of our 15th Resource Center. And now the MC announced, "Please welcome our Community Impact Director and newest board member, Mrs. Sarah Montgomery." As I took the podium, my wedding ring caught the light. Nothing flashy. Alexander knows I prefer elegant simplicity. I saw my old mother-in-law in the crowd. Patricia had wrangled an invitation through a business contact, no doubt hoping to reconcile now that I'd married up. But I wasn't the same woman she dismissed in the rain. Meeting her eyes, I smiled and began my speech. 5 years ago, I wrote a proposal about the power of community support, about how everyone deserves a chance to rebuild,
To grow. To shine.
Today, we're not just opening another center, we're making that vision a reality. I paused, my hand resting gently on my slightly rounded belly. Our first child, still our secret for a few more weeks. Sometimes, life's greatest betrayals lead us exactly where we're meant to be. Sometimes, losing everything means making room for everything you've ever dreamed of. And sometimes, just sometimes, the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living your truth so boldly that those who tried to break you become nothing but a footnote in your success story. Alexander squeezed my hand as the room erupted in applause. And in that moment, I sent a silent thank you to David. His cruelty had freed me. His betrayal had led me here. I'd lost a husband who dimmed my light, but I found a partner who helped me shine. I lost a fake family who valued status, but I built a real one, based on love and respect. Most importantly, I found myself, the woman who'd always been there, waiting to emerge.
Strong. Capable.
Unstoppable. That night, as Alexander and I drove home to our modest house, we could afford bigger, but I love this one's cozy garden, he asked. Any regrets? I touched my growing belly. Thought of our expanding centers, our passionate team, our future together. Just one, I smiled. I should have checked the company's submission portal years ago. He laughed, the sound warm in the quiet car. Everything happened exactly when it was supposed to. And you know what? He was right. Sometimes, life's greatest blessings come disguised as its cruelest trials. Sometimes, life's cruelest endings are the beginning of its greatest adventure.